If you're a fan of horror games, then this year is going to be a treat for you, as there are a ton of exciting titles that have yet to be released. The horror genre has always been a popular choice among gamers, and this year promises to be filled with some of the scariest and spine-chilling games yet. Whether you're a fan of survival horror games, first-person horror games, or psychological horror games, there's something for everyone on this list. We have already been spoiled for choice with recent entries with the Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space remakes, but there are many more games on the horizon that are worth considering if you want to experience even more thrills and scares. In this video we will be taking a look at 17 unique horror games that you should keep an eye out for. From sequels to critically acclaimed horror games to brand new titles, the horror genre definitely has a lot to offer. Many of the games on this list are highly anticipated, with some lesser known entries that are also worth checking out. These games are sure to build upon the hype to offer players even more scares and thrills, which promise to bring new ideas and fresh perspectives to the horror genre, and will no doubt be some of the most talked about games of the year. So sit tight and let's delve into some of the scariest and most immersive horror games this year has to offer. From haunted houses to space stations, from psychological horror to survival horror, this year's lineup of horror games promises to be one of the most diverse and exciting yet.
Is this thing on? Can anyone hear me? Shit. My name is Noah.
Beneath is a game that will test your limits as you plunge into an enigmatic underwater world. Noah Quinn, the protagonist of the game, is a veteran deep-sea diver who has seen it all, or so he thought. The game begins with Noah in the depths of the ocean trying to survive against all odds. The only way to escape is by confronting the heart-stopping horrors that await. The world that Noah finds himself in is treacherous and unpredictable. The ocean depths are filled with terror beyond imagining. Noah's only hope is to arm himself with weapons and wits and be prepared to face the horror head on. But not all nightmares can be defeated with bullets. Noah's mental state is on the brink of collapse, and he must avoid succumbing to madness if he ever hopes to reach the surface again. As Noah fights his way through the underwater world, he must make every shot count, as ammo is scarce, and he must scavenge for supplies if he hopes to survive. The monsters he will face are beyond comprehension, and he must be aware of his sanity as he confronts them. The game's designers have ensured that the player is never too comfortable in the underwater world of Beneath. Noah's journey is filled with twists and turns as he encounters various puzzles and obstacles that he must overcome to progress. The game's story is engaging and keeps the player on the edge of their seat. The game's designers have managed to create an immersive underwater world that is both terrifying and captivating. In conclusion, Beneath is a game that is not for the faint of heart. It takes you on a journey through the depths of the ocean, where you must fight for survival against unspeakable horrors. The game's story is gripping and the gameplay is intense, so brace yourself for an unforgettable experience as you dive into the treacherous, enigmatic underwater world of Beneath. Coven is an upcoming video game that tells the story of a young girl who rises from the ashes and finds herself in a world where reality and the supernatural are intertwined. Her quest for revenge is fueled by an unknown power that grants her modern weapons and ancient magic. With these newfound abilities, the player will explore villages, temples, forests and cities, uncovering the secrets of the older gods and the forces that brought her back to life. The game's hyper-violent style takes players through a twisted world filled with demons, witches and other supernatural entities. The game's retro style pays homage to classic first-person shooter games very like Doom and Quake, while also utilising faster-paced, frantic gameplay mechanics seen in the more recent Doom games. As the player progresses through the game, they must utilise an explosive mix of modern weaponry and magic to survive. The game places a strong emphasis on movement, as players must dash, slide and slow down time to avoid the relentless attacks of their enemies. The game's fast-paced action is also accompanied by an adrenaline-pumping soundtrack, which keeps players on the edge of their seat. One of the unique features of Coven is the ability to eat flesh of the newly deceased to regain health. This feature adds an extra layer of strategy to the game, as players must balance their desire for revenge with their need for sustenance. Consuming enemies' flesh can leave the player vulnerable to attack, so they must constantly weigh the risks and rewards. As the player explores the world of Coven, they will encounter a variety of elements, environments and enemies. The game's levels are intricately designed, with hidden paths and secrets to uncover. Each level is set in a unique time period, with the first episode taking place in an alternate 16th century. The game's use of low poly graphics and atmospheric lighting create a sense of dread and unease that is sure to keep players on the edge of their seats. And in conclusion, Coven is a very unique and immersive first-person shooter game that offers a thrilling experience to fans of the genre. Its retro style, modern mechanics and unique features make it a standout from other games in the market. With the fast-paced and action-packed nature of the game, it promises to offer plenty of blood-spilling moments and gore to keep players entertained and engaged for many hours. Cave Crawler is a unique horror game that puts players in the shoes of a drone pilot tasked with finding a missing hiker in Rockwell Mining Group's newest cave system. The game is set to release on Steam in 2023 and is being developed by Technomancy Studios. As the player takes control of the Cave Crawler drone, they are immediately transported into the dark, eerie cave system. The game's atmosphere is very unsettling from the beginning, with the sounds of dripping water and the dim lighting setting an ominous tone. As the player progresses through the cave, they begin to discover strange and unsettling things. The game's story revolves around the disappearance of a hiker within the cave system, and the player is tasked with finding them. But as they delve deeper into the caves, they begin to realise that something isn't quite right. The Cave Crawler drone picks up strange readings, and the player begins to encounter strange creatures and paranormal activity. The cave system itself is an integral part of the game's story. The Rockwell Mining Group's newest cave system is still largely unexplored, and as the player navigates through it, they uncover the secrets that have been hidden away for many years. The game's environments are richly detailed, with underground rivers, cave formations, and eerie abandoned mining equipment adding to the game's sense of dread. As the player explores deeper into the cave, they begin to uncover the truth behind the hiker's disappearance. They discover that the mining group has been conducting secret experiments in the cave system, and that those experiments have led to the creation of terrifying creatures that now roam the caves. The game's horror elements are inspired by classic style horror games, with jump scares and psychological terror being used to create a sense of unease. The player is never quite sure what they can encounter next, and the game's sound design and visuals work well together to create a truly immersive horror experience. Overall, Cave Crawler is an exciting yet terrifying game that promises to be a unique addition to the genre. With its richly detailed environments, unsettling atmosphere and captivating storyline, it is sure to be a hit among horror fans upon release. Crawling Silence is an online co-op survival horror game featuring elements of survival, puzzle solving to uncover the mysteries of an old, long forgotten building with a dark hidden past, all while trying to escape the creatures lurking within. The building, once a bustling research facility, has been abandoned for many years. Its once sterile white walls are now stained with blood and rust, and the floors creak with every step. The moment you step inside, you feel a sense of unease, as if you're being watched by something lurking in the shadows. As you progress through the building, you begin to discover the dark secrets hidden within. You learn about the experiments conducted on humans and animals, and the tests of which went horribly wrong. The more you uncover, the more you realise that the creatures that now roam the halls are not the only things that you need to be afraid of. You discover that the building was once owned by a wealthy philanthropist who funded the research conducted within. However, the philanthropist had a dark side and was known to conduct unethical experiments in secret. The research staff kept quiet, for they were afraid of losing their jobs and the funding that came with it. One day, something went horribly wrong, and the creatures that were once test subjects escaped. Chaos then ensued, and the building was evacuated, leaving the creatures to roam free within. In the game itself, players can choose to play in co-op mode or single player escape mode. In co-op mode, players will have to work together to solve puzzles to find a way out of the building while trying to avoid the many creatures lurking in the shadows. The more players involved, the harder it is to remain undetected. In single player mode, players must rely on their own wits and skills to escape the building. Each of the creatures that you encounter within the game all have their own unique abilities, skills and weaknesses that you either have to avoid or take advantage of if you are to survive. Some of the enemies can climb walls, others can teleport, and some can mimic the appearance of humans to blend in with their surroundings. You must be careful not to make too much noise, for the creatures are attracted to sound. The game features randomly generated items and puzzles, ensuring that no two playthroughs will be the same, and the puzzles themselves are challenging but not impossible to solve. Clues will be scattered throughout the building and all of the hidden rooms within, while many of the game's secrets are hidden in plain sight or behind locked doors. Crawling silence is not just for the faint of heart. The building is dark and full of terrors, and the creatures that inhabit it are not to be underestimated. Can you survive long enough to uncover the secrets of the building, or will you fall prey to the crawling silence? The choice is yours. Echoes of the Living is a game that plunges players into a world of horror and chaos. Set in a small town located in the north of Europe in 1996, the game is inspired by classic survival horror games of the 90s, with full 3D environments and current generation graphics. I have covered this game in a previous video, and I will link to it on screen if you want to go and check it out. The story begins with a mysterious fog that rises upon the town in a clear night, and soon after, the locals begin to fall sick and panic runs rampant. The dead begin to walk the streets, and the few survivors left are haunted by the echoes of the living. Players take control of two protagonists, Laurel and Liam, who are both trapped in this hellish nightmare that the town has become. Laurel, a deputy, is investigating the fate of her teammates when she encounters the horror firsthand. Liam, an ex-special operations member, arrives in town to start a new life with his fiancée, only to find himself embroiled in the chaos and fighting to survive. As players explore the town, they'll encounter all types of enemies, from bloodthirsty zombies to mutated fauna to other nightmare-fueled creatures. They'll also have to solve puzzles, manage their limited inventory, backtrack to previous areas, and utilise save rooms and item storage to help them on their journey. The game features fixed camera angles, very reflective of classic survival horror games, but with updated and customizable controls, and a wide arsenal of weapons to adapt to each player's playstyle. Players can upgrade their weapons and equipment to unlock in-game bonuses, and the game also features multiple stories with their own point of view, providing players with a richer and more immersive experience. As Laurel and Liam work together to uncover the truth about the incident and make it alive, players will walk through dark and bloody streets, shady exteriors and emblematic buildings such as the hospitals, libraries, police stations and high schools, among many more. The game's immersive soundtrack is also inspired by that of classic survival horror games, which also adds to the overall horror experience. Echoes of the Living takes much of its inspiration from classic Resident Evil games, but it also adds its own twists and updates to the genre. With its dark and haunting atmosphere, challenging gameplay and intriguing storyline, it's sure to be a hit with horror fans everywhere. Fort Solis is a game that takes players on a terrifying journey through a long and dark night on planet Mars. The story begins with Jack Leary, an engineer who responds to a routine alarm from a neighbouring base. As he arrives at Fort Solis, he realises that something is not right. The base is dark, desolate and eerily quiet. With storm warnings looming, he knows he needs to find out what is happening and make contact with the crew. As Jack explores the base, he discovers that something terrible has happened to the crew. The base is in disarray, and there are signs of struggle everywhere. It becomes clear that the crew has been attacked by an unknown force, and that the storm is not the only thing Jack needs to worry about. The game's mechanics are built around exploration and survival. Players will need to navigate the isolated surface of the base, the dark and creepy service tunnels, and the various departments of the base, including engineering, medical and communications. Along the way, players will need to scavenge for supplies, find weapons and solve puzzles to progress. As the night wears on and the storm rages outside, Jack's situation becomes increasingly desperate. He realises that he is not alone on the base and that something is stalking him throughout the shadows. The tension and fear escalate with each passing hour as Jack struggles to survive until morning. Throughout the game, players will uncover the mystery of what happened to the crew and discover the true nature of the force that has taken over the base. They will encounter terrifying creatures and face impossible odds as they fight for survival in the hostile environment of Mars. Fort Solis promises to be a thrilling and immersive horror game that will keep players on the edge of their seats. With its richly detailed environments, engaging story, quality voice acting, and challenging gameplay mechanics, it is sure to be a hit among horror fans and gamers alike. So are you ready to face your fears and survive the night on Mars?
And I need to find out what it is.
The story of Fortune Follow, the mansion, centres around a mysterious and terrifying mansion that has remained hidden in the mountains for many years. The legend surrounding the building claims that it holds a treasure that is beyond anyone's wildest dreams, but no one has been able to find it. As the player, you take on the role of a brave adventurer who sets out to uncover the truth behind this myth. Armed with only your wits, you make your way through the mansion, room by room, to search for the elusive treasure. However, the mansion is not as deserted as it first appeared. As you progress through the rooms, you'll encounter a variety of dangers and obstacles that will test your puzzle-solving abilities to their limits. Not only will the rooms contain deadly traps, but you will also have to fight and face off against frightening creatures that will try to stop you from reaching your goal. You will also begin to unravel the mystery and the secrets inside the further you dive into the mansion, where you'll uncover clues that will help you to solve the many puzzles and find keys to unlock new areas and hidden items. Each clue and key that you find will bring you closer to the truth, but will also lead you closer to the dangers that lie further within the mansion. The challenge is to survive throughout all the rooms, uncover the truth behind the mansion and escape with your life intact. Will you be able to find the treasure and solve the mystery of the mansion, or will you succumb to the dangers that lurk within? The fate of the character lies in your hands. Inout is a cooperative survival horror game for 1 to 4 players, seeing a team of exorcists trying to stop a possessed maniac taken over by an ancient evil entity taking refuge in an old mansion in the town of Madiland. As you make your way inside, the musty smell of old wood and damp air fills your nostrils, and you can feel the weight of the darkness that lingers in the air. The rumours of the possessed maniac and ancient evil have set you on the edge, but you know that this is what you are trained to do. You start searching for ritual items, and the notes scattered around the mansion guide you in your search. The notes hint at the tragedy that unfolded in the mansion years ago, and you can't help but feel a sense of dread. You wonder what happened to the people that lived in the mansion, and if they have anything to do with the ancient evil that resides inside. As you explore the mansion, you hear strange noises and see unexplainable things that make your skin crawl. You know that the possessed maniac is nearby, and you can feel your heart pounding in your chest. You try to stay calm and focused, relying on the 3D sound location technology to track the possessed movements. You know that any mistake could cost you your life. The possessed maniac is not your only obstacle. You also have to be careful of the traps that he has set up around the mansion. You and your team have to work together to navigate through the maze-like corridors to avoid the traps, all while staying alert for the possessed's attacks. You will have to utilise the help of your teammates to coordinate your movements, keep each other informed of any potential dangers. As you continue your search, and you begin to realise the true horror of what happened in the mansion. The possessed maniac is not just a random victim of the ancient evil, but rather a willing participant in its rituals. You realise that the only way to free the possessed from the ancient evil is to perform an exorcism ritual, but it won't be easy. You and your team have to use all of your skills and knowledge at your disposal to perform the exorcism ritual and banish the ancient evil from the mansion forever. But the real task is, are you able to work together with your teammates to overcome an unstoppable force, or will you succumb to your fears and become part of the ritual itself?
Hello? Hello?
Paranormal Tales is a truly terrifying next-gen horror game that immerses players in the unsettling world of found footage. With its hyper-realistic graphics and sound effects powered by the Unreal Engine 5, this game promises to deliver a visually stunning and unforgettable horror experience. In this game, players take on the role of an investigator who is tasked with unraveling the mysteries behind a series of disappearances. Using a variety of body cams, phones and VHS cameras, players must navigate through various unique locations to discover the truth behind each tragic tale. As players explore each location, they will encounter a range of auditory and visual effects that are designed to immerse them in the horror of the situation. From the eerie sounds of footsteps in the distance to the sudden appearance of ghostly apparitions, every moment in Paranormal Tales is designed to keep players on the edge of their seats. One of the most unique features of Paranormal Tales is the way that it tells its stories. Each location that players visit has its own distinct tale to tell, and players must piece together the clues and evidence to uncover the truth behind each disappearance. Whether it's a haunted mansion, an abandoned asylum, or a desolate forest, each location offers a different kind of horror experience for players to enjoy. As players progress through the game, they will encounter increasingly difficult challenges and obstacles to overcome. From deciphering cryptic clues to avoiding deadly traps, players will need to stay alert and keep their wits about them if they hope to survive. Ultimately, the question the Paranormal Tales asks is whether players have what it takes to play through to the end of the footage. With its hyper-realistic graphics, immersive sound effects and challenging gameplay, the game is sure to be a hit with horror fans everywhere. So if you're looking for a truly unsettling horror experience, then be sure to check out Paranormal Tales. Pneumata is a horror game that promises to deliver a terrifying experience unlike any other. The game's story centres around the mysterious disappearances and gruesome murders of residents within an apartment complex. As the player, you take on the role of an investigative journalist tasked with uncovering the truth behind these horrifying incidents. However, as you begin your investigation, you soon realise that something much more sinister is at play. The game starts with a grim opening scene. You are in a dark and dingy room surrounded by flickering lights and peeling walls. You hear distant screams and whispers, but you can't quite make out what they are saying. This is where the journey begins, and it's up to you to figure out what happened to the residents of this apartment complex. As you delve deeper into the apartment building, you begin to notice that the complex itself is changing. Doors that were once locked are now open, and rooms that were once empty are now occupied with terrifying entities. You start to question your own sanity as you struggle to distinguish between what is real and what is not. The line between reality and alternate worlds begins to blur, leaving you feeling disorientated and helpless. To survive, you must scavenge for weapons and supplies in limited quantities, utilising run and hide mechanics from unpredictable entities that can appear at any moment. The AI in the game is diverse and will create distractions to catch you off guard. Every corner of the complex is filled with gruesome horror, and the feeling of tension and helplessness is unending as you explore deeper into the building. As you examine crime scenes and piece together clues and evidence, you start to uncover the truth about the murders. However, every new piece of information you gather, more questions arise, and the horrors you encounter only deepen. The game's psychological elements will leave you questioning what's real and what's not, and the game's gritty atmosphere will keep you on the edge of your seat throughout the experience. In conclusion, Pneumata promises to be a truly terrifying experience for horror gaming fans. The game's story of missing tenants and gruesome murders, combined with its psychological elements, makes it a must-play for fans of the genre. So are you ready to face the horrors that lurk beneath the surface? But be warned, once you start playing, you may never see the world in the same way again. Rewind or Die sees you working as a video store employee that ends up in a series of events leading to you trying to survive a relentless serial killer that is constantly stalking the store in which you work. As you start your shift, you notice that the store has a peculiar vibe to it. The aisles seem darker, and the old VHS tapes on the shelves seem to be watching you. As you go about your duties, strange occurrences begin to happen. Movies that you know for a fact were in their proper places suddenly go missing, and you hear strange whispers coming from the darkness. As the night goes on, you begin to hear more unsettling sounds. The phone rings, but when you pick it up, all you hear is static, and you start to feel like someone or something is watching you from behind the shelves. This leaves your mind to play tricks on you as you try to go about your shift, when suddenly the power goes out and the store is plunged into complete darkness. You hear the sound of footsteps getting closer and closer, and you realise that the killer is now in the store with you. As you run through the aisles, you start to feel that you're stuck in a horror movie yourself, which the killer seems to be enjoying the game of cat and mouse, and they're not going to let you leave the store alive. Rewind or Die is a game that will keep you on the edge of your seat, and you will never look at a video rental store again in the same way, which presents many elements of classic horror where you have to survive at all costs, traversing many different types of environments, from the place where you walk that takes you into many other grotesque and unknown areas where the killer inhabits, and you get to see the real level of darkness within. So are you able to survive the ordeal, or will you become the serial killer's next victim? Shame Legacy is a first-person survival horror game set in the early 19th century that sees the player exploring an unforsaken cultist village. To survive, you must utilise awareness of your surroundings using stealth to unravel the untold mysteries to escape. As you navigate the decrepit village, you begin to unravel the dark history of the cult that once inhabited it. The villagers seem to have vanished without a trace, leaving behind clues that hint to an unspeakable horror that took place there. As you explore even further, you encounter grotesque creatures that lurk in the shadows, ready to pounce at any moment, and you must use your wits and stealth to avoid them, as you have no weapons to defend yourself with. Your only option is to hide in the shadows, to peek around corners, and move quietly whenever possible, with the hopes of staying alive and to stay hidden. As you progress, you will also come across puzzles that need to be solved to progress, that will unlock other areas, and many of the codes have their own cryptic meanings and symbols that all tie in to the plot of the story, which leads you to slowly uncover the truth about the connections of the cult. In conclusion, Shame Legacy is a thrilling and intense first-person horror game that will keep you on the edge of your seat. With its intricate use of puzzles and a very dark storyline, this game is sure to give horror fans the experience that they won't soon forget. System Shock is a first-person horror game set in the depths of space. The game is a fully fledged remake of the classic System Shock game that was released for the PC back in the early 90s. The game features a completely revised interface, updated controls, and all new HD visuals and sounds. In System Shock, players take on the role of a nameless hacker who is trapped aboard a space station that has been taken over by an artificial intelligence known as Shodan. As players explore the space station, they will encounter various enemies, both humanoid and spider-like. These enemies will attack the player, and the player will have to fight back in order to survive. The game contains heavy scenes of violence and gore, and those with arachnophobia may also find the spider-like enemies in the game to be very disturbing. The space station was initially designed as a research facility, but it was taken over by Shodan, who became sentient and now seeks to destroy all human life. The player must navigate the various levels of the space station, fighting off enemies and solving puzzles in order to uncover the truth behind Shodan's takeover and find a way to escape. Throughout the game, the player will encounter audio logs left behind by the station's former crew members, which provide insight into Shodan's backstory and motivations. The player will also have the opportunity to interact with other survivors on the station, although not all of them can be trusted. As the player progresses through the game, they will unlock new abilities and upgrades, which will give them an edge in combat and allow them to access new areas of the space station. The game will also feature multiple endings depending on the player's actions and choices throughout the game. In conclusion, System Shock promises to be a thrilling first-person horror game set in the depths of space. With updated controls, all new visuals and sounds, and a gripping story, it is sure to be a hit with fans of the original game, as well as newcomers to the series. The Gap is a chilling horror game that will keep players on the edge of their seats, where you find yourself in an eerie abandoned house, with no idea of how you got there. The only thing that's clear is that you're not alone. You feel a creeping sense of dread as you explore the dark and twisted halls of the house, trying to piece together the mystery of your surroundings. The game's environment is clearly crafted to heighten the player's sense of fear. The shadows seem to twist and shift around you, and every creak and groan of the old house sends shivers down your spine. As you move throughout the house, you'll encounter horrifying scenes and eerie sounds that will leave you questioning what is real and what is not. The story of The Gap is a dark and twisted tale that slowly unfolds as you explore the house. You'll uncover many clues and hints about the history of the place and the forces that led to its current state. There are secrets hidden around every corner, and piecing them together is the key to understanding the true nature of the evil that inhabits the house. As you progress through the game, you'll encounter other characters, some of whom may be friendly, while others clearly are not. You will have to use your wits and limited resources to stay alive and unravel the mystery within. The game offers both a linear narrative and a free roam mode, allowing players to explore the game world at their own pace. Overall, The Gap Gap promises to be a truly terrifying experience for horror fans. With its dark and twisted story, haunting environment and engaging gameplay, it's sure to leave a lasting impression on anyone brave enough to explore the haunted house on the lonely street corner. The Mute House is a thrilling horror game that promises to transport players back to the golden age of survival horror titles. As the game's protagonist, Emily, a local deputy police officer, you will find yourself investigating the strange disappearances that have been occurring in the local town and its surrounding areas. Emily's sister has become one of the many people who have disappeared, and she decides to take the matters into her own hands to conduct a personal investigation. Following a trail of clues, Emily is led to an eerie abandoned house deep within the woods. Intrigued by the mysterious house, Emily decides to enter it and investigate further. But as she soon steps inside, she realises that the house is far from ordinary. The Mute House is a mansion shrouded in mystery, and Emily is trapped inside with no way out. As Emily explores the mansion, she uncovers various secrets and puzzles that need to be solved. The mansion is full of intriguing environments and places, and each room holds a different mystery waiting to be solved. Emily must use her wits and resourcefulness to find a way out of the mansion and uncover the truth behind her sister's disappearance. The gameplay of the Mute House is a combination of exploration, management, puzzles, with use of classic action mechanics seen in earlier survival horror games such as Resident Evil. Players will have to manage their resources carefully, explore every nook and cranny of the mansion, and solve various puzzles to progress through the game. The game also features fixed camera angles reminiscent of classic survival horror titles, which adds to the game's atmosphere and tension. The Mute House has a dark history, and the more Emily uncovers, the more she realises that her own life is in danger. As Emily delves deeper into the mansion's secrets, she begins to realise that the mansion is not what it seems. She must use her own courage and intelligence to outsmart the mansion's malevolent forces and uncover the truth behind her sister's disappearance. The Mute House promises to be a thrilling horror game that will keep players on the edge of their seats. With its atmospheric visuals, engaging gameplay and intriguing story, the Mute House is sure to become a fan favourite among horror game enthusiasts and fans of classic survival horror games. But the big question is, will you be brave enough to explore the mysterious mansion and uncover its secrets? You Will Die Here Tonight is a game that puts players in the shoes of an elite division team who are tasked with a mission that goes horribly wrong. Players must lead their teammates to safety through a cursed mansion, which is the main setting for this game. This game is heavily inspired by classic horror games of the 90s, with the original Resident Evil seeing players trapped in an isolated mansion looking for a way to escape. As the team explores the mansion, they encounter relentless zombies that must be battled in blood-pumping first-person combat. Players must scavenge for supplies, solve puzzles and upgrade their gear in order to survive. However, the game's tagline, "You will die here tonight," serves as a constant reminder that death is always looking around the corner. The game allows players to play as each member of the task force, and each character is separated by mysterious forces. The game seamlessly blends top-down exploration with visceral, heart-stopping first-person arcade shooter combat. Players must switch between exploration and combat as they progress through the mansion. Your teammates will inevitably die, but their actions and decisions carry forward empowering or endangering elements to whoever remains. This unique twist means that death is only the beginning of your story. As players progress through the game, they will uncover the sinister and cruel reality of the mansion and its tragic history. The game features deadly enemies that players must either fight or flee from. Resources are scarce, and the players must manage them carefully in order to survive, all whilst solving challenging puzzles, upgrading weapons, and utilising whatever means possible to survive. The decisions players make will influence the rest of the game, and they must take what they need but leave some for others to survive. However, with every death, players' actions and decisions will carry forward to whoever remains alive. This means that players must embrace the death of their teammates in order to uncover the truth, to acknowledge the sacrifices, and to know that it can determine the fate of who lives or dies in the future. In conclusion, You Will Die Here Tonight is a game that is sure to provide a unique twist of the typical survival horror gameplay elements seen in classic titles. With its blend of exploration, combat and decision making, will provide a truly unique and engaging experience, which will only enhance its fear tension elements to keep players at the edge of their seat.
Bucut. Kal bucut. Last Chance Market, Take 1.
At Last Chance Market, we know how difficult it is to keep mouths fed in these uncertain times. That's why we've partnered with local suppliers to bring the untapped bounty of Ling Forest to you. Whether you're looking for free-range eggs, wild bacon, or the catch of the day, you can always find Ellie's products smiling at you from our shelves. In a hurry? Swing by our new to-go station and grab an elk burger so fresh you might have to chase it. So come to Last Chance Market and we'll hunt down what you're craving.
Cut, I guess. Anyway, Stephanie, I was wondering if...
Cleanup needed at checkout.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a horror game that is inspired by the events of the iconic movie. Players can choose to take on the role of either a member of a family or one of the unfortunate victims. Each character has a unique set of abilities and objectives, creating a dynamic and engaging gameplay experience. As a victim, players must use their cunning and stealth to avoid detection by the members of the insane family. The game is designed to keep players on the edge of their seat as they search for tools and elements that will help them to find ways of escaping, all while being pursued by the relentless and psychotic members of the family. The game's mechanics require players to be strategic and smart in their movements, as their choices can impact various outcomes. So if players choose to select being a member of the family, their role will be that of the hunter, and their objective is to track down and capture victims, preventing them from escaping, which requires a completely different set of skills than playing as the victim. They must use their heightened senses and tracking abilities to locate their prey and take them down before they can escape. The game's story is set in the same world as the iconic 1974 horror film, and the developers have gone to great lengths to create an authentic, terrifying experience. The game's environments are dark, eerie, and filled with the twisted remnants of the family's past victims. The sound design will also play a crucial element in the game, creating an immersive horror experience. Like that of the movie, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not for the faint of heart, as it contains scenes of graphic violence and gore. However, it will be a must-play for fans of the film that are looking for a more darker and sinister experience. With the mix of games on this list, along with many classic franchises and brand new titles, there's sure to be something for every horror fan out there. But of course, this is just the tip of the iceberg. With so many new and terrifying games, we're sure to see even more spine-tingling titles in the months and years to come. So are there any upcoming horror games that you're particularly excited about? Or are there any games that you would like to see that are not on this list? Be sure to share them down in the comments below. With that in mind, horror games still prove to be an interesting case study, either with original titles or modern remakes. They all have something unique that will appeal to fans, which is why you need to check out this next video to learn how these games influence modern concepts.